screen print medium. Warhol died in 1987, but his legacy in the art world has had one of the greatest impacts. Our Morning Live producer, Kirat Lalla, went to the exhibition titled Andy Warhol Unscreened.
Pop art and Andy Warhol, the names are synonymous. Andy Warhol first started his career as an illustrator in the advertising industry and then moved on to his fine art works.
I'm standing in front of the Marilyn, the very, very famous Marilyn Monroe image. And what you see there is an image of a woman who was a very famous film star. And what Warhol did was he took a photograph of her. And a photograph usually has dark tones, light tones, and mid-tones. And the mid-tones are what creates the three-dimensionality of the image. What Warhol did was he completely removed those mid-tones, which creates a very flat surface. There's also a disjunction between the color and the form and the three-dimensional form. And the reason Warhol did this was in order to communicate the disjunction between who we know as this very famous celebrity and the real person behind it.
These portraits of Muhammad Ali were done when he was training for the World Championships. This was after he refused to fight in the Vietnam War and was stripped of his world title, which he regained.
Now, Warhol actually went off to his training camp to take photographs of him in order to do this series. And he describes Muhammad Ali as having the most beautiful face, the most beautiful hands, and the most beautiful voice he'd ever heard, and that he could use them all together. And I think what you see in these images is an incredibly gentle and sensitive representation of a heavyweight boxing champion, not what you would really expect a portrait of Muhammad Ali to look like.
These may look like pretty little flowers, but they are in fact quite controversial.
We're standing in front of a series called The Flowers, which are really, really famous. What's really interesting and important about this series is that Warhol often appropriated images. So he took other people's images and used them in his artwork. So this was taken from a modern photography magazine and by a photographer by the name of Patricia Caulfield. And it's actually an image of hibiscus flowers on grass. And Warhol took this image and reused it over and over again. All these different colors of the same image, and created these series. He also made wallpaper from them. Now the photographer who took the photograph was not very happy that here Warhol was making fortunes of money out of it, and she had got nothing for it. So she actually sued him, and eventually that case was settled out of court.
These are the famous Campbell soup cans paintings done by Andy Warhol to highlight the beginning of the mass consumer culture taking place in the US during the 1960s. Other artworks on display from Warhol are these cartoon caricatures sprinkled with diamond dust. There's also the 10 famous Jews. Warhol was also a conservationist and highlighted the plight of endangered animals in these paintings. So, how has the exhibition been received?
The exhibition has been received so well, way, way beyond our expectations. We had 5,000 people at the opening, which I think must be the largest number of people ever at an exhibition opening in South Africa. And it was an incredibly diverse audience, which was what was so fantastic, and so many young people.
There's no doubt of Andy Warhol's impact on pop culture with paintings like this one of Marilyn Monroe. You can view Andy Warhol's exhibition here at the Wits Art Museum until the 8th of October. For Morning Live, I'm Kirat Lalla.